Hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Pepper, come here. Pepper. She's on the floor and she doesn't care. Alright, we're just going to get straight into it. Right. Alright, so getting into it. We're talking about productive and healthy habits. Now, I'm sure we've all been through phases in our life where we have been very productive and other phases where we're not so productive. What phase are you in right now? Are you feeling productive? Do you feel like you get things done? Let's start by talking about our daily routine. So, what's your daily routine? Post in the chat. I will do this as well with my daily routine. So it does depend on the day for me, but I'm going to post it. It's got quite bad actually recently. It used to be quite good. So I get up about 8 a.m. Have a shower. Then I prep classes for the day or finish prep from last night. I do random admin tasks and some one-to-one classes online. Then at about, depends on the day, but at about 12, I go to college, the college where I work. And then it depends on the day. Some days I get home very late, 9 p.m., 8 p.m. And some days I get home earlier, 5 p.m. And when I get home, I eat a lot, drink a lot, and go to sleep. So, we're not seeing a great deal of... excuse me. We're not seeing a great deal of productivity there, are we? David Eduardo says, I actually feel very lazy. I study maths every single day. At weekends, I try to bake a good chocolate cake. David Eduardo, you study maths every day. That doesn't sound lazy to me. Teacher, I thought you said 6 a.m. Yeah, Pallavi, that was in the past, before I had the job with the college. But now that I work with the college, I'm too tired to wake up at 6 a.m. because I work until 9 p.m. sometimes, and I'm really tired. Eating dinner while watching your live stream is not a healthy habit. Sure it is. But it makes it more difficult for you to practice pronunciation. Oh, this coffee is not good. Oh dear. I put protein powder in it and it's too hot and it's coagulated the protein powder. So maybe I just won't drink that. Tack. What do you mean, tack? I religiously have a coffee right after I wake up, says Anawat. Okay, Anawat, I want to give you some advice. Wait at least 1 hour after waking up before you have a coffee. Because then you allow the natural androgen receptors in your brain to adjust and it makes you less reliant on coffee. So wait 1 hour and then have the coffee. Kelly, how did you train your cats to call them by whistling? A couple of things, Kelly. First of all, always whistle before you feed them and don't overfeed them. If they're eating and finishing all the food you give them, that's good. If they're leaving lots of food, you're overfeeding them. Feed them a bit less. And if you feed them less, so you only feed them when you whistle and they come, then they start to come when you whistle. Cats will only do things for you if they're a bit hungry. If they're full, they ain't got no time. So Pavia says, I wake up at 5 a.m., then I do my homework, go to college, listen to lectures, come back home, do a bit of workout, read, more homework, prayer, social media, and sleep. Well, that's pretty good, Pavia. I like it. It's not bad. Zoya says, I like the saying, it's too late to tune in your guitar after the concert. I've never heard that saying, but it's funny. For me, the morning is the most important time. I take the first hour of the day for inspirational reading and meditation. Oh, Zoya, I am... I'm jealous. Jealous. Sounds great. So let's talk about your habits. Are you happy with your habits? What productive habits do you have? And what things can negatively affect productivity? So what productive habits do you have? And do you find it hard sometimes to start studying, to do the productive things? And why? So I like the way that Manuel here is showing us how to use the discourse marker later. Later, I put my clothes on. Later, I make the bed. Later, I do the laundry. Later, I make a coffee. How about using a variety there, Manuel? Later, after that, following that, subsequently. I leave home every day at 6:20 for work, says Fu, and then I get home at 6:30. My commute takes me more than an hour to my workplace. I see. Oh, Reem Shaman says it's hard to form new habits, which is why I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits. Ding, 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 ding. You win a special prize. Well done. Yes, the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Highly recommended. Really cool book. I'm still reading it. It's bought me by a very dear friend of mine. Julie Hatar says, I am a night owl now and hit the sack. Hit the sack. She hits the sack around 12 midnight. Get up around 6 or 7 a.m. Is that a night owl? That sounds pretty early to me. Pavia says, I'm quite happy, but things are not easy for me in college. I sleep less than 5 hours. That sucks. Yeah, less than 5 hours is not good, Pavia. Less than 5 hours is not good. Yeah. I suspect that you're looking at bright lights and screens too late in the evening, and you should be going to bed before then. Ow! Pepper's attacking my foot. Oh, she's running. Did you see her? She ran. Almost really happens. Wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm jealous. I used to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, and I loved it. I just can't do it now. I might try again, go back to it. So it's those evenings, working on Tuesday and Wednesday in the evening, which reminds me I need to send an important email. Sorry, just give myself a reminder. Okay. Right. So, negatively affect creativity. Yes. Productivity, sorry. So I want to talk a bit about dopamine. Do you know dopamine? Dopamine is a chemical in our brain, and it's largely associated with motivation, focus, and passion. It's a very, very interesting chemical, and it dominates our lives, dominates my life. Do you guys know about dopamine? Natural neurochemical produced in the body. Pure Care says dopamine balance is extremely important. Yes, it is. Yeah, never leave food out for them, Kelly. That's called free feeding, and it's not good for cats' habits. And it's not how cats eat in the wild either. So don't just leave food out for them. You feed them specifically at certain times and call them. And you see, they don't obey me, but at least they come a little. They do come when I call them. So no one's commenting about dopamine apart from Pure Care. It's a chemical in your brain related to motivation, focus, and passion. Sometimes people call it the happy chemical, although that's more serotonin. Serotonin is like joy, right? Whereas dopamine is more like, oh, I feel good about myself, you know? Oh, I feel productive, you know? That's dopamine. Oh, I'm getting things done. I feel good about this, okay? So, here's some pictures of things which help dopamine production. Tell me in the chat, what things do you see? Similar to adrenaline, yeah. I think the difference with dopamine and endorphin is that endorphin is kind of like you feel kind of numb and happy, right? Kind of numb and happy. It's like after you do like a big workout, you relax and you're just like, oh, and you just feel kind of warm and happy. Whereas dopamine is that kind of like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I'm getting things done. Oh, I've done another task. I'm improving. You know, it's the same thing also if you play a video game and you like get to the next level and you're like, yes, got to the next level. Yes, got to the next level. Yes, beat the boss, right? It's that kind of celebration of when you achieve something. So anything that you enjoy as a hobby probably has a dopamine association for you. So, yes, we have eating limited sugar. Very good, Nipa. Yeah, we're stopping sugar. Listen to music, Julia. Yes, listening to music produces dopamine. Drinking water also can help. Yes, Ashley Chen, cutting down water. Lots of people getting that. What about this one here? That's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? That's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? That's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? That's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? This one. That's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? What do you think? Eat healthy food. It's a bit more specific. It's a bit more specific than that, Kelly. Take a look. Eggs, beef, beans, cheese, milk, nuts, fish. We should stop the intake of sugar compounds. Limit as much as possible, Pavia. Sugar is terrible. It's absolutely terrible for you. There's no reason to have it. It was very useful for our ancestors, but in the modern day, we don't need it. Unless you want a quick boost. Like if you're running a marathon, you could have something with sugar in, but otherwise avoid as much as possible. I have it. I have it in alcohol. I drink cider. It's not good. I know it's a bad habit. Sugar causes a dopamine release, an unnaturally high dopamine release. So it's very addictive. And I am addicted. So I'm the same as you, Pavia. I am addicted to sweet things. But if we want to have more of a regulated dopamine system, we should avoid it as much as possible. Okay, not all the time. Yeah, I totally relate. It's sugar's nice, you know. It's nice. But that's the point. It's nice. It's nice, but it does nothing for us. So it gets the dopamine release without the work. Right. So, you're going to listen to a speech about dopamine. And as you listen, I'd like you to type notes in the chat. Okay? So you're going to listen to a speech about dopamine. And as you listen, type notes in the chat. For example, if you hear me say dopamine is a neurotransmitter, then you can type neurotransmitter or dopamine is neurotransmitter in the chat. Okay? Once again, listen to a speech about dopamine. Type notes in the chat as you listen. Are you ready? I'm going to wait for one yes. Pallavi says yes. Okay, let's go. Every time you complete a goal, you feel productive and good about it. This is caused by a chemical in our brains called dopamine. Not all dopamine-driven habits are beneficial. Our brains cannot distinguish between productive and unproductive habits when releasing dopamine. Activities like binge watching television or mindlessly scrolling through social media also release dopamine, leading to unproductive habits. Therefore, we need to consciously channel our brain's dopamine responses towards the behaviors which align with our personal goals. On top of that, consuming certain drugs like alcohol can overload our dopamine receptors, causing our brain to adapt and become resistant to the effects of natural dopamine. In conclusion, dopamine is the spark that lights the fire of motivation and productivity within us. So, now we need to think about how we can effectively harness dopamine to have the life that we want. Okay, very good. Lots of interesting ideas in the chat. Also a vote if you want to listen again. I'll read what people wrote in the chat. Manuel says neurotransmitter. Raquel, you feel productive. Pallavi, distinguish. Raquel, our brains can't distinguish. Julia, mindlessly scrolling through social media. Nice. Nipa, unproductive habits. Almost really happened. On top of that, good discourse marker. And this, on top of that, on top of that. Pure Care says we need to channel our brain. Pavia says, oh my God, posh. Raquel says, our personal goals. Nice, Raquel, you're seeing some good stuff. Shimi Nadar says, productive, cause dopamine. Bad, unproductive habits, binge watching and scrolling through social media. Okay, I'm going to play the recording again. And this time, true or false, and say why. Look at the statements. True or false, and say why. Okay, let's listen. Every time you complete a goal, you feel productive and good about it. This is caused by a chemical in our brains called dopamine. Not all dopamine-driven habits are beneficial. Our brains cannot distinguish between productive and unproductive habits when releasing dopamine. Activities like binge watching television or mindlessly scrolling through social media also release dopamine, leading to unproductive habits. Therefore, we need to consciously channel our brain's dopamine responses towards the behaviors which align with our personal goals. On top of that, consuming certain drugs like alcohol can overload our dopamine receptors, causing our brain to adapt and become resistant to the effects of natural dopamine. In conclusion, dopamine is the spark that lights the fire of motivation and productivity within us. So, now we need to think about how we can effectively harness dopamine to have the life that we want. Okay. So, to go through the answers here, social media can be addictive because of dopamine is true. You can never have enough dopamine is false. You can have too much dopamine. Dopamine causes depression is false. A lack of dopamine can cause depression. Dopamine itself does not cause depression. Dopamine is only important for productive people is false. Dopamine is very important for everyone. There's the script. And here are some of the vocabulary from the listening. So these are phrases from the listening. I want to know, what do the phrases mean? Can you give a definition of the phrases in the chat? And when and why? More why were they used in the audio? What did they refer to in the audio? So type your answers in the chat. And for the purposes of pronunciation, I will say the phrases naturally now. So we have dopamine-driven habits, productive and unproductive habits, binge-watching television, mindlessly scrolling through social media, overload our dopamine receptors, become dopamine resistant, the spark that lights the fire of motivation, and have the life that we want. So, what is the definition of these terms? Can you explain what they mean and say why they were mentioned in the audio? For example, number 1, dopamine-driven habit is a habit that we do because of the dopamine response. And therefore, we want to do it more and more. And in fact, pretty much all habits are dopamine-driven. And it was mentioned in the audio because, well, it was the whole topic of the audio. Riyadul Islam says, hello, Mr. Rich and everyone. Hello there. Hey, everyone, make sure you smash that like button. We've got 32 viewers here right now and only 13 likes. So smash that like button. Let's get that like button up to 32. Unfortunately, you can't join the membership here yet because we don't have 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months. But I'm trying to get there. Our brain doesn't distinguish between productive and unproductive habits. Well done, Raquel. That's right. Become dopamine, what was that? Overload our dopamine receptors. Zoya gives the example of drinking too much alcohol. That's right. The spark that lights the fire of motivation, a creative way of mentioning something that influences a person in a positive way. Very good, Pavia. It's not necessarily a way of mentioning something, because we actually were saying that dopamine is the spark that lights the fire of our motivation. And in fact, it is. Whenever you feel really motivated, that's dopamine. When you feel like, yeah, let's do this, it's dopamine. Watching a lot of TV does not make impulence. I'm sorry. What's that? What's that, Manuel? So it is important to be aware of dopamine and to try to regulate your dopamine system to have a healthy balance where you're naturally getting dopamine from productive habits and you're trying to avoid the things which overly stimulate dopamine. By the way, I'm so guilty of this myself. I do a lot of dopamine things like video games and drinking and eating nice food. And because of that, I find it more difficult to motivate myself. And that's the reality of dopamine. If you want to become more motivated, you have to be very careful about these unproductive habits which can overload our dopamine receptors. Zoya says number 6 is don't have enough natural dopamine, so you get resistant to it. No, that's not right, Zoya. What it is that you drink alcohol, for example, or play lots of video games, and the dopamine builds up in your brain, and your brain then blocks some of the dopamine receptors, so that the dopamine has less of an effect. So you become dopamine resistant because of addictive habits, like drinking and playing video games. And then when you need to get motivated about something important, like a hobby or exercise or productive work, you can't do it because the dopamine response is too low and you don't feel motivated. That's okay, Pallavi. You just try to understand what other people are saying. We're exploring some interesting vocabulary here. So, we can move on to some questions now, and you can download the notes from today's class about productive habits and dopamine. That didn't take quite as long as I thought, but okay. And do make sure that you join our community. And I will be starting conversation classes very soon. So if conversation classes is something that you're interested in, these are group conversation classes, then please do vote on the best times for you. So if you want conversation classes with other students and me, then go to that link, bit.ly/profrichvote, and vote on the good times for you to join our conversation club, and that will be starting in a couple of weeks. Daisy says, I think Rich used his nasal voice. Yeah, I sound nasal because I have something called nasal polyps, and I've had them for like 10 years, so it sounds a bit like I'm doing this all the time, and it's possible I'm going to get them removed in like 6 months. So you might see my voice change to be less nasal because of that. Or more nasal, I don't know. But it will change. My voice will change a bit. As for the voice I use reading the audio, 2 things, Pavia. 1, it was very early in the morning. And 2, I kind of deliberately read it in a, I don't know, like a slack-jaw documentary way. So it'd be like this. Being productive and healthy habits. Learn English with Teacher Rich. dopamine production is, of course, a fantastic thing to talk about. It's kind of my documentary, slack-jaw, lazy documentary voice. Manuel says, I've taken heroin all my life. Never my body tells me if it's a good habit or not. The answer after the break. Okay, Manuel. Pallavi, teacher, will you answer my previous question about focusing on studies? Can you ask your question again, Pallavi? I don't know what it was. So, Pallavi, please ask your question again. Kelly, are there any specific reasons why Cambridge has got 2 types of exams? Different markets, Kelly. It's IELTS and Cambridge English. And Cambridge is more associated with Cambridge English. IELTS was a collaboration with the British Council. And it was intended for different purposes, but now both of them continue because they're a global institution. But they're slightly different. Like Cambridge English Examinations is a different company to the IELTS, the people who manage IELTS. They are a different company, although they are both associated with Cambridge University to some extent. Is that it for questions? No one has any questions today. Just so happens on the day when I finish after 30 minutes, no one has any questions about English. I'm waiting for yours again, Pallavi. Ibrahim Arvan says, are you interested in evolutionary psychology? If so, I'd love to hear your opinion. Yeah, I am very interested in evolutionary psychology. And you're saying, why do we need to be productive through an evolutionary perspective? Well, because if you just sit around doing nothing, you don't find more effective and efficient ways of doing things. So in other words, without being productive, humans would just be in a constant state struggling for survival because we'd never build things and make things. There's no why would you? Right? Why would you make some tool? You don't feel like making it. Right? So why bother learning to become a blacksmith and making tools? You got no motivation to do it. The only thing that motivates you really is eating, drinking, things like that. Also, you'd have no motivation really to reproduce because that's dopamine regulated. So that's productive, sort of. Things like that. But I can't give you an expert opinion on that, Ibrahim. It'd be very interesting to actually hear what a genuine evolutionary psychologist has to say. I think evolutionary psychology is fascinating. And I think it explains a lot about how we are today. And I think that people are choosing to ignore evolutionary psychology because they today want to explain everything in terms of social attitudes, and it's just nonsense. Oh, Kashata says, last time you said you'd advise me on how to be fluent in English. All right. So the reason I didn't say anything last time, Kashata, is I talk about this all the time, and some people will be so bored to hear this, but I'm going to tell you, right? So improving spoken fluency. That's what we'll call this. So it goes a little bit like this. Number 1, learn phrases, not individual words. So not word-to-word grammar, but learn phrases, individual words. Okay. Number 2, pronounce things phrasally. I'm going to go. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go tomorrow? Where are you going to go to work? Where are you going to go to study next year? Where are you going to go to the cinema? Which cinema are you going to go to? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to see at the cinema? What are you going to eat tonight? What are you going to study this weekend? What are you going to, right? Pronounce things phrasally. What are you going to? Not what are you going? I am a robot. I speak English like this. No. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do tomorrow? Okay? Pronounce things phrasally. Number 3. Imaginary conversations and auto-narration. This is talking to yourself in English, obviously. So you get up, you go, what a lovely day. My name's Kashata, and I'm going to enjoy myself today. The sun is shining, I feel happy, and I'm going to have my breakfast. What am I going to do after breakfast? Maybe I'll go to the shops and I'll buy a newspaper. Okay, so just talking to yourself in English. This is a good way of improving fluency. Don't worry about mistakes too much because we're practicing fluency, not accuracy. So we don't really mind about mistakes because we're practicing fluency, okay? And that's what you want to focus on improving. That's what you asked about. So we're not going to worry too much about errors. And then, of course, the absolute best way of improving fluency is engaging in enjoyable conversations in English is obviously the best way of improving fluency. And you really want to have a good partner who's not going to keep interrupting you. A lot of people say that gonna is an American term. Maybe that was true in the 1990s, but it's not true now. Now gonna is something that everybody says. It's not American. Even though some English teachers say, oh yeah, it's American. Someone said that at my college 2 weeks ago. They said, gonna, that's American. Why do you teach that, Rich? And then 10 minutes later, I walk past his class and I hear him saying, okay, everyone, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at this and do that. Literally. The guy didn't realize that he uses it, but he did. Funny, isn't it? Pallavi, teacher, do you like BTS? No, I'm not a 17-year-old teenage girl. I don't like BTS. Sorry, Pallavi. I'm sure they're lovely for teenage girls. I almost became a victim of an online romance scam involving crypto, but I managed to turn lemons to lemonade. By stalling the scammer, I found an opportunity to learn English from them. Very funny, Anawat. Be careful, though. Be careful with those guys. They're tricky. Ignore the grammar while I'm practicing fluency. That works well on me. Good advice, Kelly. That's exactly right. Ignore grammar when you're practicing fluency. So you have to choose. Am I doing error correction and accuracy now, or am I doing fluency? Work on one. Don't worry about the other. Work a bit on accuracy, work a bit on fluency. Most people need to work more on fluency because we do loads of accuracy stuff. We do it in school when we learn pretend English. We do loads of grammar and accuracy stuff. So then it's good to focus more on fluency now. Every teacher I ask tells me the same thing. As you said, I'm not a teenage girl. Funny. Kashata, will you follow? Thank you very much. Auto-narration is fluent until now. I have to spit it out. Not quite sure what you mean, Kashata, but I hope you enjoy auto-narration. It's great. Just chat to yourself about your life. Oh, I'm kind of hungry. What am I going to eat today? I could have a steak, but I had a steak yesterday. Which is one unproductive habit you'd like to change, says Zoya. Honestly, drinking alcohol. I just love alcohol a lot, and I wish I could stop it. Yeah. You missed my question, teacher. Where is it? Oh, teacher, will you give me some suggestions on focusing on my studies? Because my exams are coming up. Oh, that one. Okay. Well, it's, that's the topic today, isn't it, Pallavi? It's dopamine regulation. Hang on, my cat wants to say hello. Come here, Pepper. Come on. No, little Pepper. Come on, it's okay. Come on, say hello. No. Do you want to say hello, little sausage? Do you want to say hello? Coochie. She's so soft. She's so soft and cute, isn't she? Yes, she is so soft and cute. Yes, she is so soft and cute. Coochie. I love Pepper. She's so cute. Daisy Lee says Pavia. You mean Pallavi? Oh, Pavia, yeah. BTS members look quite gay. Okay, no comment. So, studying, yes. So, Pallavi, unfortunately, sometimes in life you have to study things that don't really motivate you. There's not a lot you can do about that. One thing you could do is try a reward mechanism where every 20 minutes during study, you give yourself a little chocolate. 20 minutes, boom. 20 minutes, boom. Something I used to do when I was studying for my exams is I would study for 30 minutes and then I played video games for 20 minutes. And I would do that all day to study for my exams. It worked quite well for me. The problem is when you can't go back to study, you just keep playing the game. That's a problem. You have to go back to study. Surprise, surprise, the shy one came up to say hello to us without summoning. Well, she was playing around on the floor, actually, rolling about. So I got to come up. Pepper! Where's she gone? She gone? Oh, yeah, she's gone. I was going to try and get her to play. Never mind. My cats have lots of toys. Any final questions before we wrap up? Oh, it's a lovely day in England right now. They have dolls. No, they have mice, little toy mice. They've got loads of stuff like this. Stuff like that. They run around after it, go crazy. They love it. About 11 months old now, my kittens. Sugar, sugar, do 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 do, honey, honey, do 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 do. Any more pronunciation lessons coming up with Zoom effects? What do you mean the Zoom effect? Oh, that. Now I know. Yeah, it's good, that, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe my next stream in 2 weeks, I'll do some pronunciation, I think. I like doing pronunciation. It's good, isn't it? Good fun. Zoya has 2 cats too, Richie and Gucci. Nice. Don't worry about mistakes too much, except if you're attending Escuela Oficial de Idiomas in Spain. Actually, Manuel, I think a focus on mistakes could be good for you because your fluency is very, 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 very strong. So for you, I do encourage you to focus on mistakes. You're the exceptional student. Most students need to focus less on mistakes and more on fluency. But your fluency is great. So for you, I think accuracy-based focus could be very beneficial. More accuracy focus. Make me eat 20 sweets a single day. I understand that part, Pavia, but if you combine the negative habit with a positive habit, like studying, then you can mitigate the damaging effect because you're essentially rewarding yourself for the study. So the dopamine response can be associated with study as well as the chocolate. Not really, Anawat. It doesn't help you speak a language better. It just makes you relaxed and then makes you think you speak a language better. But it doesn't actually improve your level. just makes you relaxed. So you don't magically get more knowledge about the language from drinking. That's pretty good, Kashata. So you study 3 lessons, then read a chapter loud and listen on Spotify. I pray it pays off. It probably will pay off. It would be great, Kashata, if you could combine that with some conversational language learning or just English conversation. For example, you can join Prof Rich Conversation Club starting in a couple of weeks. And if that's something that interests you, then please do vote using the link in chat on the times which are suitable for you. The times are in BST, British Summertime. And the Prof Rich Conversation Club is a very economic, cheap way of practicing your speaking fluency with other students. A camera is recommended but not required. What you do need is, well, something that works with Zoom, because we use Zoom for the conversation class. And you get a month of classes, that's 8 hours, for the price of one one-to-one hour, one private class. So it's very, very good value. The link to vote is in the chat. It's bit.ly/profrichvote. You can go there and vote for the times when you can attend. Well, Kashata, you should join Prof Rich Conversation Club. Okay, I'm not going to do the advertisement again. Alcohol-triggered euphoria is a sheer emotion. Adrenaline makes you speak more. I'm not sure if it's adrenaline, Manuel. I think it's more just the relaxing effect of alcohol, because I think you could actually have a similar effect, and please don't try this because it could actually be addictive or dangerous, but you could have a similar effect by taking some kind of relaxant and coffee. For example, if you were to have opiates and coffee, you would probably find a similar effect where you relax more, your fluency improves, and you talk more. However, I don't recommend that because it has no permanent benefit. It's a temporary solution. Nobody answered my question. What's that? Oh, teacher, is asking someone's age rude? Pallavi, that depends on the culture. In most cultures, asking people's age directly is quite rude, especially women. Raquel says, yes, it's rude. It depends. People ask me my age all the time, and I don't normally get offended. So it does depend. Your pronunciation lessons are very entertaining and they affect you, and learning a language has got to be fun. I agree, Kelly. Yeah. Anything that's fun is great, isn't it? Yeah, I'll do some more pronunciation next week. Not next week. Next week, there's no streams. I'll be on holiday, and we will come back in 2 weeks' time. So that will be the 24th of June, Saturday, the 24th of June. Be there or be square. This is your last opportunity for questions. We're going to wrap up. And Pavia says, Rich, you don't look a day over 25. Thank you, Pavia. Plavi, okay, teacher, I understand. I won't ask that again. My bad. All right. Daisy Lee, I hate it when annoying people ask about my age, and I always say I'm 100 years old to shut down the conversation. When are you going to go on your holiday, says Kelly. I'm not really going on holiday. I'm going to go camping for a week in August. That's it. That's my holiday this year. I need to work on my business. And speaking of business, join Prof Rich Conversation Club. Okay. Pavia says, did I say 21? I actually meant 20. You look 20. Oh, thank you, Pavia. Very good. You should see me when I shave my beard. Then you can see I'm actually 15. Shimi says, I'm struggling with understanding meaning from the dictionary. Any advice? Yes, Shimi, I do have some advice for that. So, understanding meaning. So, 1, try Google Images. Oh, make sure you're learning phrases, not words. Okay? Then try Google Images with the phrase. Okay? 3, use the context. 4, try Youglish. And I have a great video on Prof Rich teaching about Youglish, where I show you how to use Youglish effectively. So I do highly recommend that video. And I'm trying to find it right now, and I can't find it, which is really annoying. Got it. Okay, so yeah, highly recommend this video where I tell you how to use Youglish. Check it out. Pallavi says you look 30. Thank you, Pallavi. I'm a lot older than 30. A lot older. Manuel Gordillo says, Daisy, I don't mind this question. As Groucho Marx, you can ask me whatever you want and I'll answer you. Very good. I hit my hand hard on the desk. That was hilarious. I'm glad you're having fun, Pavia. How can we join your club? So the Conversation Club will open in a few weeks' time. If you're interested, then you can register your interest at profrichtteaching.com, or you can join our community on Skype, which you can join at bit.ly/English Learners Chat or something. Oh, what was it? English Learner Chat. That's it. So download Skype, follow that link, load the link in Skype, join our community, and you will be the first to know when we start. Pure Kerr says, you look the way you are, 45. You what? What did you say? Pure Kerr is now permanently banned from the channel. Pallavi says, really, Pavia? One of my history professors is 27. He looks very young. Pavia must have been high on her milk tea. Kamal says 42. Okay, now you're upsetting me. What is this? 42. Do I look 42? 42. I found an American TikToker create a channel by asking people in the US, how old are you and what do you do for a living? Manuel says, I have to go. I think we all have to go, Manuel. It's been fun, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and share with your English learning friends. Please do join our community. We will soon be having conversation classes, and I am excited about it. They are exciting, engaging, fantastic conversation classes, and they will help you. And we do error correction, and the topics are great. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you very much. Next week I'm on holiday and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. All right, everyone. Bye-bye now. sun's shining. Looks good. There's lots of English learning channels, but there's only one channel where we rock out. And not in a cringy way. Cool way.
Does anyone know anyone who can make outro videos? I should have an outro video. Thank you very much, everybody. I have been at Professor Rich, and I will see you in 2 weeks. All right. Have a lovely day, have a lovely week, and goodbye. See you later.